So this is how I used to look at the age of 15 and 16 years old. This is how I look right now at the age of 20. So I basically decided to download Tinder and a couple of other dating apps at the time, and I just literally chucked a couple of pictures on me on there to basically like see what would happen. And I started getting messages like this. And at the time, I was like, "What the actual fuck?" I had no clue like what would basically happen. And this was literally an unfathomable like difference from what had happened like a couple of years ago. Because, and I don't know if some of you guys like used to do this, but I'd just like randomly like add girls on Snapchat like 3-4 years ago, and they'd like send like, "Oh, how do you look?" and stuff. I'd send like a selfie or like a mirror picture or something. Instantly fucking blocked like 3-4 years ago. And now I got messages like this, and I was like completely baffled, just like what the hell was basically happening. By the way, if you guys are wondering, this language here is Norwegian. It's because I live in Norway. But I started getting pretty crazy messages. So I don't want all those messages to come off as like a brag or like me hyping myself up, because I literally told you guys the old me was rejected brutally, friend zoned by every single girl that I like ever had a crush on. So I specifically remember being this age, 15 and 16, and having a crush on like 3 or 4 girls at the time. Every single one of them friend zoned me, literally every single one. And I specifically remember there was one time I was in the back of the classroom, and I remember one of my crushes was just giggling with her girlfriends and like laughing and stuff. And I had no idea what they were talking about until I heard my name pop up in the conversation. And they were basically laughing at this one Instagram post that I posted. They said like my hair was weird. They were mocking the way that I basically looked. They were mocking like my legs. They were like basically laughing at me at the time. And it really fucking hurt because it was one of the girls that I had liked at the time. And it was funny because they didn't even know that I was in the back of the classroom until one of my friends basically went up to them and was like, "Hey, he's in the back of the classroom and can listen to you," right? And they kind of like got a bit awkward and a bit like, embarrassed or whatever, but it really fucking hurt. So how can black guys basically build a body that women actually notice and get a similar transformation? So 99% of guys get completely ignored by girls, even if they go to the gym. And I know that that sounds like a really bold statement, and I know that can be kind of confusing for some of you guys, but just bear with me for a second. So the first thing we need to understand to basically build the most attractive physique that gets anywhere from 10 to about 100 times more attention than the average guy, and I'm not even joking with that, we need to understand the male gaze versus the female gaze. So what does that basically mean? It's very simple. The male gaze is basically what we as men think women want in terms of the physique, the cars that we drive, the way that we act, everything, versus the female gaze, which is what women actually want. But this video is specifically going to be on the physique and how black men can build the female gaze body and get a ton of attention from girls. And a lot of black guys who build the male gaze body sort of all say the same thing. They all sort of say like, "Yeah, bro, I started lifting in the gym to get girls, but right now I only get guys that compliment me, or it's basically just guys that are impressed by my physique." It's just because they build a male gaze body and they don't appeal to the female gaze, right? So to understand what the female gaze is, we basically need to sort of like visualize it a little bit and to understand like what is a female gaze body. So checking out this Instagram post, we can look at the comments. It's just girls, right? It's just basically girls. There's this one post that this guy posted and they got 1,000+ comments. This is the post and this is his physique. A lot of us guys though would look at this body and be like, "Yeah, it's lean, it's pretty, it's pretty aesthetic, but it's not big, it's not impressive to our male standards," right? And we as men only look at things from the male gaze perspective, but females look at it completely different. And this body here will get 10 to 100 times more attention than, for example, a male gaze body. But here's what happens when you build a male gazed physique that gets 10 to 100 times less attention from women. You just attract dudes. You just attract gym bros, right? So here's the comment section of a guy who has a male gazed physique, right? Super impressive, massive physique, but it's male gaze, and these are the comments you get, right? And before we start coping as guys, okay, and start saying, "Oh, I just live for myself," or, "Yeah, bro, I just want to get big for myself. I'm just doing it for myself to be the best version of me." Let's not cope. You would like if you got Instagram like DMs and Instagram comments like this, okay? Let's not lie. Let's not bullshit ourselves, okay? All right, so how do black men build the female gaze physique? So the good news is that black muscle building genetics, our genetics are the best starting points you can have. We are very, very gifted with our muscle building genetics, and we have the ability to basically build a certain look and build a physique a lot faster and a lot quicker than other races, for example, which gives us a massive advantage. But if you're lazy and you're basically just eating fucking potato chips on the sofa every day, mate, you're not going to get anywhere. So you still need to put in a shit ton of effort, right? So it is more simple to build that super lean aesthetic V taper, like female gaze physique than you guys actually think. There's basically just two things you guys really need to focus on. The first thing is to get very, very lean. So to have a low body fat percentage. And the second thing is we're going to just focus on V taper muscles to get that very aesthetic V taper physique. A lot of guys who focus on the male gaze physique, they just look big, bulky, and there's no real shape to it. And a lot of women don't find that specifically attractive, and it doesn't get the same level of attention from women. So in terms of getting lean, we need to be at 8 to 12% body fat. 8 to 12% body fat, right? So the reason why 8 to 12% body fat is the sweet spot is because you're lean enough to have abs pretty much all the time. You don't need the perfect lighting. You don't need the pump to basically show your abs. And additionally, it just makes everything look very sharp and tapered. In terms of your waist, it basically tapers in your waist. You don't have those love handles. You don't have any excess fat around your stomach, which is perfect for building a slim waist. And then additionally, your shoulders, what it does is it basically rounds off and basically like carves your shoulders out in a way that looks really aesthetic, and that helps build that V-taper physique. Here's one thing that you guys might have heard from women. They say they don't like this physique here. They say that they want a dad bod, which is usually, 16 to like 24% body fat. A lot of girls would say that they want the dad bod. You guys might have seen like, some street interviews with some guys basically saying like, oh yeah, which physique do you guys find the most attractive? And these girls be like, oh, the dad bod, the dad bod. Trust me, it's not the dad bod. So I'm going to actually let you guys in on a little bit of a secret. When girls say they want the dad bod, they don't actually want the dad bod. What they're actually saying is they don't want a guy who's too good for them. And a lot of it is just projecting their own insecurities, because they're basically saying a guy like this who's super in shape and super who has a really, really nice, attractive physique, they don't think that they're good enough to bag a guy like that. But they think that they might be good enough to bag a guy who's a little bit chubby, a little bit fat, and a little bit lazy, which is why they say that they want the dad bod, right? If you've ever looked at these reaction videos online of women react to super ripped and super attractive physiques, it's always within this 8 to 12% body fat range. It's always there. This does something to women, I swear to God, to activate some sort of primal instinct in their brain. They can't ignore it and they can't hide it. This is the most attractive body fat range to be in, hands down, right? So our goal is to get to that 8 to 12% body fat range, so we have abs all the time, and all those other things that I basically spoke about will basically appear in your physique. 80% of getting lean is going to be from your diet, and the other 20% is going to come from cardio. So this is my diet to basically get and stay lean. It's super high protein, it's very low carb, absolutely no sugar. So I'm cutting out all sugar, right? It doesn't matter what it is. If it has a tiny bit of sugar, boom, I'm not eating it. No processed food, and basically just drink water, right? So no Uber Eats, no going out to restaurants fucking every day. We're just sticking to the basics, boring foods, right? So this is my exact diet. It is boring as hell. I didn't just put these pictures here because it looks good and it looks healthy. This is literally my exact diet. So everything, all these pictures here, this is just what I eat on a daily basis. I eat basically the same thing. It's boring as hell, but it works, right? Also, drinking water is key. You're going to want to drink more water than you even think is possible. So there's two types of black jeans. You're either naturally super skinny like me. If that's the case, you guys need to be eating a lot more, about 500 calories more. If you're naturally fat, you're going to basically have to eat less. You're going to be in a calorie deficit of about 500 calories. I am personally in this bracket here, and I've always had to eat a little bit more. If you, however, are naturally fat, you're just going to have to eat less. You're going to be in a calorie deficit of about 500 calories. So if you guys don't know how many calories you specifically need, there's this one app you can download on the App Store. It's called MyFitnessPal. I'm not sponsored or affiliated by it. It's just the best app that I use, and it's the only thing I use. So once you've downloaded the app, it will basically just ask you some questions, your height, your weight, your age, basically just a bunch of simple questions. Once you've answered that, it will give you basically your recommended daily intake in terms of calories. That is basically what you're going to use as your base metric, right? So if you're super skinny, you're going to want to eat 500 plus that number. And if you're naturally pretty fat, you're just going to have to eat 500 calories less than that number, right? Super simple. So track everything you eat. This is going to be the golden rule for you guys. Track everything you guys eat. Very, very important, right? So even if it's something small, you eat a fucking banana, fruit bar, you guys drink like a glass of milk or something, track everything you guys eat. It is very, very important. Don't skip anything. Don't be like, oh, I'll just do it later, or no, I'll just have like a cheat day today. You have to track everything you eat and stick to the basics, right? Remember, super skinny, eat more. Super fat, you're going to eat less. That's the only way you're basically going to gain muscle and basically build that super, super lean physique. But for the love of God, please keep this stuff super simple and just focus on calories and protein. I know there's going to be a ton of people that basically come after me and say, oh, you're not focusing on all the macros and the fats and, all this other stuff. Just trust me, calories and protein, it is the two most important things when it comes to building muscle and losing fat. You guys need to just be focused on calories and proteins. The reason why is because when you start to overcomplicate this stuff and you start to look at this one product that actually has like, a little bit higher fat and, too much sodium here, and, it's got this amount of calories and blah, 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 your diet just starts to become very weird and very inconsistent, and your body doesn't like that. And you start chucking out foods that would otherwise be really good for you because, you didn't meet, a certain like ratio for the day. Just trust me, calories and protein, focus on it. Keep this stuff so bloody simple, and you guys will start to see results. All right, so now for the muscles. So diet is the boring part. Let's get into muscle. So when it comes to building the super lean and aesthetic V-taper physique, what we're basically trying to do is we're aiming for a 1.6 to 1 shoulder to waist ratio. That basically just means that your shoulders are a lot broader and wider than your waist. And that is what gives you that super lean, like that V-taper look. That 1.6 to 1 shoulder to waist ratio didn't just come out of nowhere. That was actually surveyed by like a shit ton of women. And they found that the 1.6 to 1 shoulder to waist ratio was the most attractive. They basically just had to pick between a bunch of physiques in terms of like how wide the shoulders were to the waist. And they found out the 1.6 to 1 shoulder ratio was the most attractive, which is basically this ratio here, where your waist is obviously a lot, narrower and slimmer than your shoulders, right? A lot of guys will focus on these heavy like compound lifts and they just end up looking blocky and square. Their like waist hasn't got like that super like nice taper. It's more just blocky and big. We're just not trying to get that look. We're just trying to get a more slimmed down and tapered look. So the most important muscles to get that lean V-taper physique and to basically get that 1.6 to 1 ratio with the shoulders and the waist. First thing is the delts. Delts basically just means shoulders, but we're basically going to be targeting the rear delts. That is the most important part to focus on. I'll get to that in a second. The second is arms. Focus mainly on biceps. The third is your upper chest. It's really going to tie everything in together. It's going to basically elevate your shoulders. It's going to make you look a lot more masculine. The fourth part is your lats. The fifth is your upper back. A lot of guys will make the mistake of consistently training lower back, lower back, lower back. And what actually happens is from the front, if you keep training your lower back, your waist is going to go out from the side and it's not going to have that super attractive ratio that we basically spoke about. And the sixth part is actually going to be your neck. And I know that sounds completely wild, but just bear with me. But if you guys actually want a free tip in this video, delts are the most important. So this is a picture of me and you guys can basically see how my arm looks in this picture. If you guys train delts, you basically your shoulders, you get what's called capped delts. You get these really, really nice shoulder incisions. And what happens is it ties your physique in together. From the side, it looks very aesthetic. From the back, it looks aesthetic. From the front, it looks aesthetic. And it basically makes your shoulders come out even more. And it basically tapers that waist down because now your shoulders are a lot wider than they were before. And that makes your waist look a lot slimmer, and that helps with that 1.6 to 1 ratio that I spoke of. 99% of guys don't train rear delts specifically. In this picture of me as well, you guys can see how it looks sort of from the back and from the side. When you guys train delts and your rear delts, it looks so sick. Like even in pictures from the side, you guys can just see how it looks from the side here. It just pulls everything together. And when you have good posture, it just makes everything look very, very aesthetic, right? So the sixth thing I spoke about was the neck. So you guys might have seen this guy before. His name is Jeremy Meeks. He actually ended up getting like a modeling contract after he went to prison. But this is how he looks normally. This is how he looks with a skinny neck. This is how he looks with a thicker neck because he's got quite a thick neck. You guys can see just how this looks, like the difference in face, but also in their physique, right? If you just looked at this picture here, and if you just saw this guy's face and you saw his neck, you would most likely assume that this guy had a super, super skinny, like very, very malnourished physique, right? Just from the neck. In this picture here, you would probably think he had a very, very lean and aesthetic body, right? You probably think he was very muscular and very big, just by the way that his neck looks. What your neck also does is it basically helps, sharpen your face, and it also just highlights your facial features, specifically your jaw, a lot more, right? So train your neck. So I've been training my neck for 6 months now, and I noticed the biggest gains towards the last 2 months when I basically swapped exercises, and I gained about 4 centimeters in circumference just around my neck just by doing this one exercise, because I realized that I was just training it wrong and I wasn't training it efficiently for growth back then. So to get the growth from the side as opposed to the growth like just head on from the front, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to do like side neck curls instead. So it's very, very similar to the neck curls. You're just on your side. So you can see here, it's pretty simple. Just lie on the side. Like you can do this at home if you have a bed and like, a bit of a weight. You can even use your hand to put a little bit of pressure on, and you're basically just curling from the side. What that does is it's training the neck muscles here on the side as opposed to directly like head on from the front. And your neck is going to grow, I swear to God, like 5 times faster in terms of your actual width, because now you're directly targeting the muscles that basically contribute to getting that wider neck, as opposed to getting the neck that looks big and is quite like girthy, but it's head on, right? Because you're only training the muscles from the front. Training your traps as well, just by doing like super simple shoulder shrugs, will also help you get like a much, much wider neck. But out of everything I've spoken about in this video, the most important thing you guys can do for yourselves is just stick with the process. Stick with everything that I've spoken about. Stick with it. It's going to be a long process. It's going to be a journey, but it is so, so worth it. You guys just have to stick with the process, right? This channel is only going to focus on looks, maxing, and glow up content for Black men, because there's pretty much like no content that's specifically for us Black men. You guys might see like glow up videos or like fashion hacks or like how to style your hair, and it's all just for like white boys. We don't have a lot of that like super like niche glow up content here on YouTube. So my goal here on YouTube is just to make content for us Black brothers and basically help as many of you guys glow up and completely transform as possible, right? So a lot of you Black guys out there have so much potential to look extremely good, but you guys don't even realize it yet because you're just not putting in the work and you're not putting in the effort required to look really, really good. But trust me, stick with the process and it will all be worth it, right? So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.